Hello, I'm Jon Sermon, a church minister based in the UK. And as some of you know, I'm also chair of Churches Together in my local area, and I lead a charity called Romans 111 Trust, all about mutual encouragement between the UK and Uganda. And throughout this lockdown situation, because of the coronavirus pandemic, I'm offering short videos to encourage people. I've become aware that amongst those who are receiving and listening to and passing on these videos are some of my friends and colleagues in the churches in Uganda. And one of them was in touch with me yesterday, and the starkness of their situation is quite shocking. We're aware here in the UK of many of the knock-on effects of this situation. The way our food banks are having to provide for more people, for example. Yet we're also aware that with the furlough scheme, many of us who are in employment, if we haven't been able to continue with work as normal, well, there's been a safeguard there. And for all that many people have an effect on our income as a result of the circumstances, the dramatic way it's affecting them in Uganda bears no comparison. My friend was telling me how he and his wife are supporting 5 children at the moment who are normally boarders at the school they run. The school's closed because of the lockdown in Uganda, but it happened so suddenly it wasn't possible for these 5 children to return to their homes some distance away, so they're effectively locked in with my friends, and scarcity of food and high food prices has meant that they're having to manage as best they can from the limited food they grow within the grounds of the school premises. That is a fairly typical situation in rural parts of Uganda. In the cities, where some people have no land and no prospect of growing their own food, and some of them no employment either, many of them, obviously there's a different and equally serious pressure. Yes, we're under pressure here. We know that. And the situation is affecting different people in different ways. Spare a thought for those in countries like Uganda, where the effect is even more dramatic. For all that, thankfully, they don't have the sorts of numbers of hospital cases and deaths from the virus, at least as yet, that we've experienced here in the UK. The reality is that their fragile economy and their limited health provision makes it such that they simply couldn't cope if they did. Now, back home here in the UK, we're also in another change in the situation with the step-by-step easing of the lockdown, as the government call it, getting the economy going again. This puts different pressures on us. Yes, there are people who are longing to be back in the pubs, in the restaurants, going out and about more. The beaches have been attracting crowds again today because it's a hot day here in the UK. Yet there are others who are very nervous. Nervous because the strange circumstances we've been living through these last 3 months, they've given us a sort of security in a different way, and a sort of assurance and knowing where we stand. And for some at least, the changing situation is even more alarming. Not least amongst that, we ourselves, like all local churches across the UK, we have difficult decisions to face at the moment, because it's soon going to be possible to have gathered congregations with restrictions in our church premises. And we have to weigh up, should we, could we, will we, how soon, whether it's best to go slowly and keep the online worship going, and the need for detailed risk assessment and new sanitation measures and all sorts of ways of preparing to make this possible. It puts pressures. And then for individual people, if we do open, whether they are still needing to be shielded, whether they are nervous of coming out, whether they will want to go straight back into gathered worship, it puts people in a difficult situation, doesn't it? That on the one hand, that what we've been missing, we're desperate to get back to. On the other hand, making sure we do it slowly, carefully, and as safely as possible. The times ahead might prove even more challenging than the times we've recently been through, for these reasons. And in that context, knowing that we can rely on God, who has it in his hands, is important. God bless you all.